Hey guys, welcome to a breakdown of Andor episode 10. The episode starts on Narkina 5, where last episode left off. Yulof's body is taken away to be disposed of. Then Cassian Andor convinces Kino Loy that they have a chance to break out of the prison, but they have to act tomorrow. He tells Kino that they don't have enough guards, and they know it. Cassian sees the move they took to kill 100 men as something done out of panic, and that they are afraid because 5,000 men are about to find out that they are not leaving that prison alive. Kino says if they are breaking out, they need to have a plan, and Andor says they have one that revolves around when they bring in a new man to replace Yulof the next day. Kino is skeptical, but eventually realizes that this is their best shot. Andor says, "I would rather die trying to take them down than die giving them what they want." And this is a very clear theme throughout the episode, that rebellions are tough and they require sacrifice. We see it in the prison break, and we also see it later on in the episode. Kino and Cassian are led back into their bunk room where they tell everyone what they have just found out from the doctor. Kino is still conflicted, but eventually yells that no one is getting out. The rumors are true, they're going to die there or in the next place. He then tells them to stay in their cells and they will figure things out. We then jump to ISB headquarters, where Major Partagaz and Dedra Meero find out that their little plan to cover up the murder of a rebel pilot has been successful. Lonnie suggests that rather than stepping away, they should investigate so as not to make the rebels suspicious, and Partagaz agrees. The prisoners on Narkina 5 wake up the next morning and have a pep talk from Kino Loy. He says there is no more counting shifts, it's just then and now. He says there is only one way out. He also says there's no sense in warning the night shift, since they will find out soon enough, so a little bit of foreshadowing there. And as they are going to their shift, there is a new protocol announcement. All Skybridge transfers are to remain silent and on program. Any shift that does not comply will be punished collectively. So basically, they don't want the word of what has happened to get out. As their shift begins, Andor and the other prisoners begin making preparations to execute their plan. Back on Ferrix, we have a brief shot of a doctor going to see Marva. A woman tells him that she knows she needs medicine, but she stopped taking it and is hiding it because it puts her off her food. Then there's a brief shot of Cinta watching them, and then another shot of a suspicious looking man asking for directions. Now we go to Coruscant, where Davos Skolden has come to meet Mon Mothma and Tay Kolma to discuss using Davos' services. We saw Mon's disgust at his name being brought up in the last episode, and you begin to see a little bit of why as their discussion begins. He comes off as a wealthy but arrogant man who knows how to get what he wants. It's an interesting exchange between the three of them. Mon is very direct and to the point, while Davo makes a lot of side comments, such as how he has met her husband before, and that many cultures don't appreciate the clarity of Chandrilan marriage. Mon continues with her short answers, so Davo just gets to the point, saying he understands that she is in search of a more fluid banking option. Tay tries to speed things up by saying they've already discussed what they want, but Davos says he wants to hear it from Mon Mothma. And also, just a side note here, I think it's kind of interesting the way they're sitting so far apart here. Maybe that's just a Chandrilan culture thing, but I think it also says a little bit more about the feelings between the three of them. Mon Mothma explains that they're exploring alternative financing options for their foundation. Davos Skolden explains that they have ways of bundling that can make certain transactions impossible to be observed from the outside. He goes on to explain that many high reputation individuals such as Mon are afraid of using his services because they feel it tarnishes them in some way. He then explains why they may feel this way, saying that the Empire's new regulations, made without Senate consultation by the way, are cumbersome. They've made a game of it, and we play, he says. Mon reminds Davo it is a charitable fund they are establishing, then asks what it will cost. Davo says he will require no fee. Money is of little importance to him now. Mon insists she doesn't want to owe anyone any favors. So Davo responds by saying A drop of discomfort may be the price of doing business. He asks that in return for his services, he get an invitation back to Coruscant and wants to bring his 14-year-old son with him so he can meet Mon's 13-year-old daughter. Mon is disgusted and dismisses Skolden at once. Skolden says it's a lot to think about, and Mon says she is not thinking about it. To which Dava replies, "That's the first untrue thing you've said." So it seems like Mon Mothma is going to have to decide whether to introduce her daughter to the son of a thug who kind of seems like he wants the two of them to get married and kind of bridge together these two very famous Chandrillans, or walk away from this opportunity to secure funding for the rebellion. Still on Coruscant, Kleya tells Luthen that somebody wants a face-to-face meeting with him. Kleya is nervous about it, but Luthen doesn't seem overly concerned. He says if it's a trap, then they've already lost, and we actually are going to find out who he's meeting a little later on in the episode. Cassian and the prisoners continue their preparations for their prison break. Andor takes a part, and he goes back to the place where he was trying to break out in a previous episode. He's been filing away at some kind of pipe for a while, and this time he brings the part with him to use as a tool. Meanwhile, the guards prepare to introduce Yulof's replacement into their shift. There's some apprehension among the other prisoners about the plan, but they decide to be on board and start gathering up parts. Andor breaks open the pipe and water starts spraying out all over the floor. And just as he breaks it open, the guards come with the new prisoner and he hurries back to the floor. As the guards begin to lower the lift, two of the men start fighting. This creates a distraction that allows Cassian to stop the lift, and then the men start attacking the guards by throwing parts at them. To calm things down, one of the guards yells to spark the floor. The men climb onto the tables, and the guards spark the floor, but little do they know, the water from the pipe that is broken has started pooling all over the floor and causes the system to short circuit. So now, without the risk of getting fried, the men storm the lift, take down the guards, and take control of their level. And after they take control of their level, they start going to all the other shifts and breaking out those men too, taking out the guards as they go. In the command center for the prison, the Imperials realize something is wrong and begin an attempt to fry all of level 5, but it's too late, since Cassian and Kino Loy have arrived and they take control of the command center by force. They make the guards turn off the floors and cut all power to the station. Then Cassian tells Kino Loy to tell all the prisoners what to do. So from the command center, every time you hear like the voice talking over the facility saying like on program and all that stuff, there's like a microphone in there that the guy had been speaking it to. So Kino goes to that microphone and he's a little hesitant at first, but then he delivers an awesome speech. He tells them everything that has happened. He tells them to leave their cells and start breaking out because they don't have enough guards and they know it. He says they know that 100 men were fried on level 2, that their sentences are being made up as they go along, and that when their sentence is up, they are transferred to another prison to die. The men all start running together towards the exit, and we actually see the guards all hiding away in fear in a small room to the side. When they get to an exit, they are above the water, and the prisoners all start jumping in. Kino Loy holds back a little, and he says that he can't swim, as the men all push each other off the edge into the water so they can swim to safety. It's not clear in the episode whether Kino actually jumped into the water or not, or what happened, but if this is the last we see of him, what a way to go out, and what an incredible performance by Andy Serkis. Kino Loy is one of the best characters in this whole series, and a new Star Wars legend. That speech he gave at the end was awesome. I kind of have a suspicion that we might see him again, but it was awesome to see his character development through the series. It then cuts away from Narkina 5, and we see Lonnie, one of the higher-ups at the ISB, sneaking down some alleys and going up an elevator where he meets Luthen. So it is revealed that Lonnie is a double agent for the ISB and the Rebellion. That's who Luthen was talking to Kleya about earlier. Lonnie tells Luthen that there is a new supervisor rising in the ISB in Dedra. He says that she is focused on a suspect she calls Axis, that she believes is building a rebel network. She started looking into stolen naval Imperial equipment, and now she's looking for a link to Aldhani. She's been on Ferrix, tearing the place apart, and believes she has a lead with a thief and a middleman. Luthen says this is good and tells him to encourage this. Lonnie's a little confused. Luthen says Dedra is wasting time because they were invited to Aldhani but declined. He says they got lucky on Aldhani and that they don't build on luck. Throughout the conversation, Luthen keeps telling Lonnie that whatever he says is not the real reason he is there. Lonnie says they've captured a pilot that was delivering supplies to Anto Kreegyr and that they know there's a raid planned at Spellhouse, and if Kreegyr attacks, his men will all die. But Luthen understands that if Kreegyr doesn't attack, the ISB will be suspicious. Lonnie wants to warn Kreegyr, but Luthen says it's just 50 men and that Lonnie is more important. What better way to assure the ISB there's no leak in security than to sacrifice Kreegyr? Lonnie gets to the top of the elevator where Luthen is waiting. Luthen again asks why they are really there, and Lonnie breaks down and finally tells him the real reason. He says he can't do it anymore because he's a father now. Luthen says they made a vow. Lonnie says he is fulfilling his vow by telling all that he did to him, that he has been working his way up at the ISB for 6 years, and that he's planning to tell the ISB that he needed to step away for his health. Luthen refuses to let Lonnie go because he's too important to the rebellion. Lonnie asks if his sacrifice means nothing to Luthen, and Luthen replies that he acknowledges the sacrifice it takes to live a double life, to be alone, but he also says they need heroes like him. Lonnie then asks Luthen what he sacrifices, and Luthen goes on an epic rant in answer to the question. He says he knows where his actions will lead him. He's condemned to use the tools of his enemy to defeat them. He burns his decency for someone else's future. He burns his life to make a sunrise that he knows he'll never see. In other words, he is orchestrating this rebellion and knows that he will likely not be there to see it succeed. He will likely never receive any credit or gratitude for what he's done. Luthen has quite literally sacrificed everything for the rebellion. The episode then ends with Andor and Melshi running on a beach on Narkina 5. So as I mentioned earlier, one of the clear themes of this episode is how hard it is to run this rebellion. It requires intense sacrifice from tons and tons of people, many of which will give their lives and never receive any credit for their contributions. It's all kind of building up to what we see in Rogue One and then the original trilogy. There's 2 more episodes left in season 1, and I'm curious to see how this wraps up for several reasons. First, we didn't see Simp Boy Cyril Karn at all in this episode, and we also didn't see Bix Caleen. We haven't seen the resolution to Mon Mothma's quest to fund the rebellion. We don't know what happens at Spellhouse yet, and we also don't know what the Empire's response to the prison break on Narkina 5 is going to be. My guess is that those storylines, and some of the others that are left untied, will all be wrapped up in the last 2 episodes as it kind of prepares us for season 2. I also wonder if we're going to see the Emperor or Darth Vader or maybe Tarkin involved somehow in one of these last 2 episodes, because if those prisoners were building the Death Star and there was this big prison break, that could be a problem for the Empire. We've only really seen the ISB so far. We haven't seen the actual Emperor or anything like that, so I guess we'll see. I'm loving the show more and more with each new episode, and depending on how this all concludes, I think this show might be better than, if not at least on par with The Mandalorian. I'm very impressed. Let me know what you guys thought of the episode in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.